All right, welcome back to STS Podcast here at the Eastwood Recording Studios in Florence, Mississippi. I'm your host tonight. My name is Scott Jones, and the man in your head is Kevin Williams.
Woohoo!
And tonight we are having a happy holiday with Jack Plunkett. Jack, how you doing, buddy?
It's good. I'm good. It's good to be here.
Welcome, Jack.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you here. Great to have you here. I saw you, a couple of years ago on stage. Just kind of filling in for guitar in one band, and all of a sudden you're just all over the place.
Yeah, that was first time I met you was at the Shoba, 2023. It was Love and Ledbetter playing. And,
Sure was.
Yep, I'd already been in the talks with them about they knew a gig that Joey was going to be out on. And they'd already hit me up about filling in. I was like, well, I'm coming to the Shoba tonight. And Kim's like, well, come play a few songs with us on stage. I said, okay. And so we got up there, and actually it was the first time I'd ever met Joey either, and just hung out with them and played the few songs and met you and got a few cool pictures from you that you got of me.
All right, well, you just don't just show up and end up on stage at the Shoba County Fair. You really don't. So let's back up a little bit now, because I understand that you're about to turn 18. Is that cool to say on there?
Yeah, next week, January 3rd. Yep. If anybody feels like sending a birthday present, I'm a broke college student.
Right after Christmas, you're not getting anything, man.
Man, people hate it. They're like, oh, your birthday's right after Christmas. Like, oh, it's terrible.
Oh, did your parents pull that card? I know your dad's in the room.
Yeah,
but,
now I just look when
Dad.
when I tell them what I want for Christmas, I'll send them something. I'll be like, just include it in my birthday too. Like I
Spread it out.
just include it as a birthday gift too. So
was one of them a musical instrument when you were young?
Well, I mean, I don't really remember. I don't guess I remember putting musical instruments on my Christmas list as a kid, because I mean, as a kid, man, it was hilarious. I would just write out these huge just Christmas lists with every single toy I could think of, I think. And then, but like I remember, and we were trying to remember the years on the ride over here. I would say I think I got my first keyboard Christmas of 2015. 2014. Sorry, I was 7 years old when I got my first keyboard. I got this little electric keyboard that had a microphone and headphones that plugged into it. So
I saw you play guitar.
I started
and
on
then
piano.
I saw you play drums.
So I started on piano. That was my first instrument. I got a keyboard and was playing by ear already. Could pick out songs by ear at 7 years old.
Did that hurt? Did you get a callus?
No. But could pick out a song by ear, and then the next year, my mom put me into piano lessons because she had took piano lessons, and she wanted me to be able to read sheet music and just be trained classically. And so we did that, and I took piano lessons for a few years, but bless her soul, I drove my piano teacher crazy just because she would try to teach me the sheet music, and I picked it all out by ear. I would learn it by ear instead of, and I would have her tricked. I'd be playing, and it, I'd have it just about right. She's like, you didn't play that like how it was wrote. You're skipping this little part or this little lick here. I'm like, just let me play it this way because this is how I hear it, you know. Huh. But yeah, I would pick out a song to learn. I'd pick something I wanted to learn and take that song to her, and she'd print me out the sheet music for it, and then I'd learn it by ear. And it was she had to constantly fight the battle with me, and I could read sheet music, and it's been years since I have, so I'm probably really rusty with it. But I mean I did learn. It was just, it's so much easier for me to listen to a song and pick it out by ear. I think I was blessed with my grandmother's ear. She was just like that as well. Could hear a song and just sit down at a piano and just pick it out and play it and sing her heart out and all that. So
okay. I think this is in your blood, huh?
Yeah, it's in my blood. Actually, the whole my dad's same way. Whole Plunkett side of the family is pretty much like that. Everybody on the dad's side of the family is music. Dad's first cousin plays bass in my band, and he's like that. His dad was like that. All the cousins are like that. So everybody's just kind of got this ear that's in the family.
Oh, nice. You have a family reunion band party on the porch?
That's normally how it is at a Plunkett family reunion. It's normally a bunch of...
you get out on the porch with some jugs?
Yeah, that's kind of stuff? It's banjos and acoustics and a bunch of just people sitting around picking, and it's like a little bluegrass fest almost, a little country picking.
That's some impressive stuff.
Yeah, man, nothing wrong with that.
Yep. I think Dad's dad played bass a little. Yeah, his grandfather played bass, and so actually, you was talking about you not being Irish. My great grandfather is Irish.
I'm sorry.
He was first. I think he was first generation here in America. I think his parents were from Ireland and they moved here, and he was born in Chicago. But he married a full-blooded Cherokee Indian. So all of my
That's Irish.
all of
Pretty much
so
did,
my
yeah.
my grandfather and all of his 10 other siblings were either super white and redheaded or very tan and dark hair and stuff like that. So just hearing stories, my great grandmother, the Cherokee Indian, her dad was could play a banjo like crazy and could sit there and play a banjo and play acoustic and do all this, and pretty much still lived in like didn't live with electricity, had a gas or had a fire oven and all that, didn't have a bathroom in his house, dirt floor, all that, and that was still in the 80s
Oh,
that he was
wow,
living like
wow.
that. But
Yeah, my grandfather played fiddle.
I've not touched the fiddle. So
He bought it from a Choctaw.
you was
If that makes any difference.
you mentioned you didn't know I played keyboard. So I started on keyboard, and then the next Christmas I got my first. I had a little acoustic guitar as a
About
kid.
what age is this?
8. So
8,
so
okay.
at 7 I got my first keyboard, and at 8 at 8 years old I'd just started piano lessons, probably that August, and then that Christmas I got my first electric and started learning. Dad would teach me. Dad taught me like a few little simple stuff, like just little 1-string riffs and stuff like that I could play. I mean, I was 8 years old trying to pick out some of this stuff.
So
but
your dad, he played in the band too? When he was,
yeah, back when he was teenage years and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
And Dad went to college in Memphis for studio work up there. He went to Mid-South Christian College in Memphis, and at the time
Nice.
they had a guy that owned a music store in Memphis that partnered up with the college and said, "Hey, I'll do y'all a studio program here if y'all send y'all students to come work for me." And so that store in Memphis was called Strings and Things. I think it was huge. I think they closed down eventually, but
I remember that name.
Strings and Things,
It
yeah.
sounds familiar. for some reason.
A huge music store in Memphis. But
Yeah.
anyways, Dad
I think I've been
Dad had all this music equipment and stuff like that, and then what was it, 97, I think, that he had a motorcycle accident and tore up his elbow and his hands pretty good, lost all the feeling in his hands, and pretty much sold off all of his guitars and stuff, like sold off a bunch of his stuff and kept on to a few things. And then doctors told him that he'd probably never play guitar again, but then he kind of just slowly started playing again, and he still plays now. He can pick up an acoustic and play some chords and stuff like that. And so he in the early 2000s, 2 years after him and my mom got married in 2000, and they were living. Dad and all that side of the family is from the Tupelo area,
Okay.
so they were living in Tupelo, and they
That's
moved.
where some of my family's from.
Yeah. So they were living up there, and they moved down here. And Dad had a '57 Telecaster
Nice.
that his uncle had given him,
Wow.
and he went to Morrison Brothers over here in Jackson when it was still open, and traded that '57 Tele for a PA system and and an Ibanez acoustic, because he had just started.
I'm sure.
Him and Mom had just started.
I bet he wishes he had that Telecaster back.
I wish he still had that Telecaster, but he traded it for that PA system and acoustic and donated it to a church that they had just started leading worship at. And
cool.
that's kind of Dad's music history. My mom, Mom sings, and she took piano lessons as a kid, and her mom plays piano and took piano, but they were all sheet music trained. Mom, it drives her crazy because we can sit there and pick something out by ear, and she has to, look up she can't just hear something. It's like she'll be listening to a song, like, because we're all involved at church too. I lead worship, and she leads worship and sings on stage, and Dad runs sound, and so it'll be a new song that she's trying to learn. She'll be like, "Jack, go sit at the piano and tell me what key this is." Or sometimes she don't even have to do that. She'll just like, "Listen to this for a second, tell me what key it's in," and I'll listen to it. And because it just drives her nuts because we can hear that and she can't. And so, but she sings, and so yeah, that was kind of their story. And so, I was just kind of born into it, I guess. As a kid, I always had an acoustic laying around the house and would strum around. And when I was a kid, I was big into like just little and. Yeah, I mean, I'm still a kid, but like as a little,
You mean a little kid?
as a little kid, I was running around, and I know Levi said on his episode that he remembers. So Levi went to high school and played baseball with my older brother.
Yeah, he said a lot of things in his episode, man. He also said he owns my mail and everything else. I don't own it anymore. So Levi, eat Shane.
Yeah,
I can't say what I want to say.
but he was good friends with my brother and was always over at the house, and so Dad. Actually, one of the only few things that Dad held on to from college was, and Kevin, you'll like this. Dad bought one of the 10th anniversary 1996 gyms when they came out with it.
Oh wow!
He actually went with the guys from Strings and Things down to I think Houston or Dallas, somewhere over there, to a trade show very similar to NAMM, and it was one of the first few batches that Steve had released, and so Strings and Things went and. Yeah, Steve Vai. They went over there. I think Strings and Things bought 3 of them to take back to the store, and Dad bought one of them and had the certificate of authenticity signed by Steve Vai and all that. And so
Cool.
Levi got to come over and when he was actually about my age, really in high school, and play that. He was one of the only people ever since Dad had moved down here that Dad ever let play that guitar, and so. Was Levi, yeah.
Those are cool guitars. I wasn't much of an Ibanez person, but I did like that.
And so, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Where was I at? I was talking about Levi, and so he was best friends with my brother in high school. But yes, he
So you got an older brother.
Yeah, I've got an older brother.
It's just the two of y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He'll be 27 in February, so he's 9 years older than me. He's in med school at UMC and doing all his doctor stuff. Crazy, freaking smart.
Nice.
I wish sometimes I had the brain that he does. But I mean, it's different.
He can't play guitar though, can he?
No,
Is he musical? Wow.
so he was the athlete and the just the big smart guy of the family, and I was the music guy. And so,
But were you like in the high school band and stuff, or?
So
Oh,
no,
here we go. Really?
So
What?
actually, I was in middle school band because at the time they started the band at our school in 6th grade as beginner band. Everybody joined the band and learned the instruments.
With the little plastic flute in class?
No, it was real deal stuff.
You remember that, Kevin? Did y'all have to play recorder in class?
Did we have to what?
Play the recorder, that little plastic, that little goof.
Yeah. So
We did.
I don't remember.
So
Well, Kevin,
That was so long ago. I don't remember.
You didn't pay attention in class anyway.
No,
did
I
you?
didn't. I
Okay.
didn't.
But-
That's why I'm doing
You know what I'm
this.
talking about, though, Dad, right? The recorder, and yeah.
but
That's why I'm a musician.
anyways, 6th grade band comes along and they asked me if I wanted to be in it, and I was like,
it's not like I
sure.
excelled in it or anything, Kevin.
I was interested in doing.
Oh yeah, we're back to Jack.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
was
Jack.
interested in doing percussion though. I wanted to play like quads and stuff like that. That's what I really wanted to get into. And they're like, well, they already knew I played guitar at the time, and so they're like, none of these kids are big enough to hold a tuba. Would you be interested? Would you be interested in playing bass guitar so we can have a bass here, a bass instrument? And so sure enough, we went and bought a bass and a little bass amp, and I played bass throughout middle school band. And then come ninth grade was the last year I went to school, because in my 10th grade year I went homeschooled and did all that route. But ninth grade, they had just started a jazz band class, and they asked me to be a part of that class, and I did what I could. That was also I was just telling you earlier, I had that tumor in my leg that I had removed and had the plate in my ear. So that fall of that.
Wait, you just threw the plate in your ear thing in there.
The plate in my leg. I had
I thought you said the plate in your ear.
No, I had the plate in my leg.
What about your ear?
My ear's
Oh, you
good.
played by ear.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
played-
You got
yeah.
the callus on your ear. Okay. The
Speaking of not paying attention,
yeah, the cauliflower. You got the cauliflower ear from reading music. He blew his leg out because he can't play in a marching band. Am I not counting?
No,
but who's
right?
the tuba player?
Yeah, and you can't. Yeah. Who plays the tuba?
I don't know. Didn't pay attention to that.
Have you ever noticed most tuba players are pretty big?
Yeah, I mean it's a big,
It's
heavy
a big
instrument. Yeah,
instrument,
it's a heavy instrument. Al.
Well, Kevin could probably tell you this. I excelled in the marching band at my school too. Except the first year I tried to play the cello. Yeah, in the marching band, it was difficult.
Yeah, I don't remember
You know,
that.
it was, cello, you sit your chair down and play, but the band kept on walking forth to move your chair forward and then march forward and move your chair again. It was just stupid. But
Wow.
But-
Okay.
I figured football was better after that. I just, I
But
digress.
that year I was
Go ahead, Jack.
ninth grade year. I'm in this jazz
Well, I
band.
can't cuss. I got to do something.
Yeah, you played in.
No, I didn't play in the band. No, I hated the band. I made fun of the
Hey,
band.
Jack, do you want
I
to?
played
Jack,
sports.
do you want to host this show?
I played sports. Wait.
Oh, but ninth grade year, I'm in this jazz band class, and they
Jazz band.
yeah,
Class?
they started a jazz class.
What school is this?
This was our little Lake High School, little 2A school. They had just gotten a new band director, and she wanted to start a jazz class. And so that was the year I had my leg injury. So during that, I missed all this class.
All right. Wait. You had a leg problem. Like, was it like, it like exploded when you were like running and chasing somebody? Or?
No, funny
Funny?
enough,
Oh, I
my
like
brother.
funny.
So when my brother finished college at William Carey, he had a gap year between college and starting med school, and so Lake actually needed a science teacher, and he had a science degree, so he went and taught science at the school and coached baseball, and they asked him if he'd coach cross country too, and so me, being the good brother that I am, I'm like, ain't nobody gonna run cross country for him. I'll go run for him. I'll try this out. Like, what it's all it is running. It can't be that hard, So I go and run for him, and
Until it's not.
he runs us to death at all these practices and stuff like that. Like, he wasn't soft. Like, and some of these kids hated him, and so. But anyways, no, we were practicing one day, and I was running, and cross country is all. Like, it's all off-road running. Like, you're running through
How
the
far
woods.
did you get?
I caught your joke this time.
Oh.
Yeah. You're running out like these trails and stuff like that.
Kansas.
Well, we didn't have that at the school. I mean, our school just had a road that's you just goes around the school, and so you could run 2 laps around the school and it's a mile. And so we were running on roads, and it had this one hill that you had to go up. I remember one day we had a morning practice, and I ran up that hill, and I just felt my leg all of a sudden. And first, and he being him, he was just like, "Oh, you're fine. You're fine," And same thing with my mom. My mom's a nurse, and me and my brother both grew up like this. If something's wrong, she's like, "It's nothing," If you're not dying, you're okay, So mom didn't really think anything of it at first, but she, maybe she's like, "Well, you probably just pulled a muscle," And then a week later, it was still bothering me. So finally went to the doctor and got an x-ray and thought it was just going to be like a tear in my calf muscle or something like that. So we went to Mississippi Sports Medicine, and they x-rayed me, and the doctor walked in. They're like, "I can't do anything with this. You got a tumor on your bone." I'm like, "Oh." He said, "I got to send you to somebody else because we can't do nothing with it." So ended up going, and it was a benign tumor, but it had weakened my bone enough to fracture my leg, and so they had to take it out and put a plate in my leg for a year, and then a year later I got it taken out, and now I'm all good, except I got all this crazy nerve damage from it. My leg has weird feeling right here, and when I had my first surgery, they pretty much my foot stayed dropped like this I couldn't walk for probably 3 weeks, and because they had put a nerve block in me, but it messed up my nerve, and my foot just stayed in this position, and they had to put me in this very weird boot that would straighten it back out. Like, I couldn't straighten it out without it just being horribly painful, and so I was couldn't walk there for a good 3 weeks or so.
Goodness.
But yeah, so during all that, I was in this jazz band class, and so I used it.
Meanwhile, back at the farm.
Yeah, so I used my injury a lot to kind of get out. The jazz band class was just to get a credit. I just needed that credit. I drove that teacher crazy, man. Because so with my brother. So that was my fall excuse to get out of class, because my injury happened in the fall. So I was running. So like for the first month before I had my surgery, I was riding around on a little knee scooter, and it was hilarious. And all my friends thought I was an idiot because I was just zooming around school like this on this little knee scooter.
You didn't jump in your ramps, did you?
Maybe once.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe. We had this big hill.
I mean,
this big hill that went down from the band hall to the baseball field too. That was the road, and I would ride that scooter down the hill and would be flying, or I'd be flying through the hallway. And I think I hit a girl once. I think she stepped out in front of me, and I hit her, and I was like,
but you don't know. You just kept on going,
yeah,
right?
I don't remember. But anyway, so that was my reason to get out of that. I maybe played bass in that class 3 times. They had a concert and I didn't even play in it. And she still just gave me the grade for it. But my brother was the baseball coach too. So in the spring, that was another easy credit for me. I became the baseball manager, and so I would run the stats and stuff, all that at the game, and help out around the team. And so it was all that jazz band class was my last class of the day, so I always would get out of it early. I'd be like, "Hey, they need me at the baseball field. Can I go?" And then she would just let me go, and I skipped that class so many times. It was, and plus I really wasn't interested in it. It was like I'm like I don't want to play bass, and wait, I wasn't playing bass in that class. I was playing guitar. That's right. By this time, they didn't. I wasn't playing bass in the jazz class. It was jazz guitar, and I wasn't really interested in that either. I was like, I don't want to play no jazz on guitar. I was this little metalhead, and now I'd probably be interested. But at the time, I was just this little power metal nerd listening to Dragon Force and all this and all that, and like I want to play shreddy stuff. Jazz is weird. Jazz is for all that, but.
Did you take any guitar lessons?
So yeah, I'll get back to that story. So, because we've kind of gotten so far along in my childhood. So yes, we got to the point.
You're so old.
We got. It feels like forever ago, but in reality, it's been 10 years ago. Which, yeah, 10 years ago. 10 years ago is a really long time for me. Y'all probably feel like 10 years ago was just the other day, but
I
that was like last week.
I think it was, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I got my keyboard and started piano lessons at 8 years old, and got my first electric guitar at 8 years old, which was a little first act Flying V that came with this little tiny amp and all that. And so at the time, Dad was working in Shreveport, Louisiana, doing construction over there. And so he was only home on the weekends. So he would show me, I learned basic stuff, and I could pick stuff out by ear. And so that was kind of the only really lesson I had. He moved home when I was in 5th grade. So I'm 10 by then. So already kind of been
ancient.
I'd already been kind of picking on the guitar for 2 years roughly. And so once he got home, I started really learning more. I learned a few chords, but then I started learning a lot more. And really, once he kind of got me to where I knew enough, once he got me at a certain point, I kind of just shot and did everything on my own. He showed me what I needed to know, and then I just took off and started learning everything. And so then that was 5th grade. By 6th grade, I was still using this little Flying V, and so Dad was like, okay, you're getting good enough now. Let's go get you a good guitar. So we go, and I pick out, I got an Epiphone SG from Guitar Center. We went and spent 3 hours or so in Guitar Center one day. And I really, at the time, I think this was 2018. So I was 11 years old. At the time, I also was really into like Chuck Berry, and so I really.
Wow, I've never even been into Chuck Berry.
I really wanted one of the big semi-hollow body guitars. Like I was begging for one of those big semi-hollow body guitars, but they were too expensive at the time. Like Dad was like, this one's too expensive for you to get to be your. So I ended up getting the little red SG, and then
you could be Angus Young now.
Yeah. Yep. And so then it was middle school, and at that same time, I just picked up playing bass too. When people ask me, so piano is my longest going instrument. I'm probably at.
What do you not play?
Saxophone, yeah.
Kazoo? Can you play a kazoo?
I think that's pretty easy to manage. Yeah. There's yeah, I can't really. It probably wouldn't be hard. I can't play any of like your traditional band instruments, like your woodwind and your brass and stuff like that. I would like to learn to play saxophone. I've always been very fascinated in the saxophone.
Yeah, I love a saxophone.
But I also like 6 years in on bass, and drums is actually the newest instrument I learned.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen you. I really picked up on drums.
I really picked up on drums during COVID. COVID helped out so much. Just not for everybody else, but like me being home from school every day helped out so much.
It gave you some time to do some things.
I live across the street from my church, and I've been on the worship team since I was 11. I got pulled into church, playing at church when I was 11, playing keyboard, and so
I used to play bass in church.
So yeah, I got pulled in at 11 years old to play keyboard at church, and then
Did you You were playing keyboard in church?
Yeah, that's what I started on.
Were you having to read music? Obviously, you probably
No,
were.
I played mostly by, I did so we had just started a second service, because I mean I go to a your traditional Mississippi Southern Baptist church, and so at the time they were still all traditional, had just one service with your piano and organ and hymns, and that was it. And so they had just started a second service for more contemporary style, and so that's what we were doing. We were doing modern contemporary worship, and so
that's what we did.
I was either playing by ear or just reading chord charts. You just have the chords and you just kind of fill it in and play what you need to. But
the funny thing about me, like I was at First Baptist, all right, and of course I've never really been a bass player, but the guy, I knew a couple of guys that were in the choir, and I knew the choir director, and he's like, "Man, can you come in and play bass?" And I'm like, "Bass?" But yeah, how hard could that be? And of course, I can't read music, and everybody else is reading sheet music. And I'm just sitting there with a bass guitar,
Right.
And so I'm sitting there by the piano player lady, and I'm like, "What key does this start in?"
Yeah.
She's like, "This is in D sharp," and I'm like, "D sharp? Oh my gosh!" Nothing's in a standard key. That I would know.
And you open up like a hymn book, everything's either going to be in 6/8 or 3/4 time, and it's very rare.
In F and C and D sharp.
Yep. And it's always going to be
there's no E's
3/4 timing or 6/8. Yep. I started at 11 on keyboard at church, and then once a little later down the line, I played guitar. So I started playing guitar, and we had another keyboard player, and now for the past 3 years, I've played drums at church.
What's your favorite to do?
What's my favorite to play?
Yeah, what's your favorite instrument that you want to play?
I mean, I feel like I should say guitar, because I mean that's like everybody knows me as the guitarist, but I don't know. It's just like so relaxing just to go out there and beat on the drums, like just go out there. I'm a hard hitter too. I mean, I go out there and I have this 7-piece Pearl kit with vinyl cymbals everywhere that I can reach for, and so I mean, it's just really nice sometimes to just go out there and just let it out.
Some aggression.
Yeah.
I started out wanting to play drums myself, but it just didn't happen.
But you're talking about the sheet music stuff. I spoil our worship team because we run playback and clicks at church and stuff like that, and so the software that we use can connect over network to the iPads and have the chord charts there and automatically scroll along with the tracks when we're playing. So I figured that out and set it up for them, and they were like, and now every Sunday is like, "Hey, is it running now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, y'all good. Go ahead and connect." Like,
you ought to go ahead and just do all the sample tracks and all the different instruments for them, and all they got to do is fake it, so you can.
So that's what we do. I mean, because it's hard. I mean, not every church is going to be.
You Milli Vanilli a church service?
If your bass player's out.
Yeah, so it's convenient because since I play drums, we don't have anybody else in the church that plays electric guitar. So I mean, most of the time on Sundays we have electric in the backing tracks, and or if it's like a Sunday that the bass player's out, we'll put the bass in the tracks, and and I mean that's a lot of churches honestly now.
Yeah.
And you use it.
It's a big thing now
because the best thing is you buy these tracks, and it's the tracks directly from the studio recording from the artist. So you get all these little bells and whistles in there too, all this little production and percussion and special effects and little just stuff that you get to pipe in. And it's crazy just like where it's crazy like where your mix goes when you add that stuff in. Like you think your mix is really good before you add it in, but then you add these little tracks in and stuff like that, and it just makes it sound so much more full. It's like, oh my gosh, we just went from, it sounded good with just a piano or with just a keyboard, drums, bass, and acoustic, but wow, now that we add all this in, it's just like this is very full sound. It just fills out the space really. But
how do you feel about doing that live for like a rock and roll thing?
I'm all for it. I mean, I love it. All my touring buddies do it. I mean, you roll up and
the big bands definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're lucky, I mean, the big guys have their own playback engineers that are back there with laptops and sitting there running and most of my touring friends are using Ableton for it, but a lot of the smaller guys will use Logic like myself, and that's what I'm eventually trying to get my group too, is, have our whole live show set up through Logic and just have it to where, and a lot of people were like, well, you can't be super spontaneous. And I'm like, well, I mean, you can, like, if you have all of your songs in one session and somebody comes up and requests a song that you play, but you don't have it on the set list for that night, you just jump around that song. Or if you need to stop for a second, just hit pause. And then when you get ready to start the song back up, just, or like in between songs, if you need to take a little bit of an extended break in between song to talk to the crowd or have crowd interaction, you just do that. And then, so that's my plan, is to eventually just have us, because we have a few songs right now that do have backing tracks that we had to learn for a wedding. And so we're like, well, now, because we had a request for wedding that then the bride wanted some Journey songs and another song by Train, and we're like, well, these all three of these songs are piano heavy. Let's just, and so it was something new for my guys, because like I've been playing with in-ears and which we're all in-ear band as well, but I've been playing with in-ears and click. I've been playing with in-ears and click for a few years now. I mean, that's just what you do in church, and then
right.
And so it was a little bit of a learning curve at first for the rest of the guys, but now it's just it helps you stay tight. Like, it's just you just notice that it's so much tighter, and and I'm just such a production nerd, and I as soon as I kind of found out all about it, I wanted to do all that I could to learn about it. So I mean, like I was telling you earlier, like I'm about to eventually get to the point where I can program my lights for my show and have all my lighting presets and that with it, and to where I just plug in my MacBook and go. It's just press play, and then you don't really have to worry about anything else, and you don't have to worry about hiring a guy to run lights, or because I mean that's the biggest thing too, is like I know some of my friend's band that went on tour, it's like they're still small, so you can only, and it's not like they're making a buttload. I mean, some of these tours you have to pay to go on tour. You're going on tour for exposure more than you are to make money, and so you can't, as a small band, you can't afford to pay a sound engineer and pay a tour manager and pay a merch guy and pay a photographer and pay so if you can cut down your costs by having your lights done by something you've programmed yourself through a computer, as opposed to having a guy out there with his big lighting console running lights, and I really do think it helps out a lot, especially for the smaller guys.
It's amazing where it's really gotten to these days compared to what it was back in the 80s.
Well, I mean,
as far as how things work, I mean, we would have never thought about much about any kind of MIDI stuff back then. Running lights and stuff.
Yeah.
And because I can remember, I ran lights for some bands. When my band was not playing back then, I would run lights.
On what? Just like a little DMX controller, or
yeah, it was a big light board. Yeah. I didn't even know how it hooked up. They just hooked it up and they said, "Go for it." Okay, I'm just start pushing buttons. I'm sliding stuff and pushing buttons.
This is the strobe button. Okay.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about stuff like that.
And if I hit this button, everything blinks.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun to do.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, no, seriously.
Hey, that's great, Scott.
I'll see y'all later. No, but when I was at Pop Fiction, I did quite a few things at one time.
Yeah.
And
I like I said earlier,
but we won't talk about that. Don't worry about it.
Oh, my fault. I was just going to throw out that I've not got to meet Sam yet. I've talked to Sam, but he's a bit he's a bit of a kind of a production nerd himself, ain't it? That's what I was going to piece. Like y'all probably had a lot of production stuff within Pop Fiction, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, you're talking about running tracks and stuff. He's controlling all that from the drums back there.
Yeah.
And they
most drummers do that. Yeah.
And that's what I see. If a band doing that, it's most of the time the drummer running the playback.
Right, and it made sense with that because they're actually pop music. So pop music has tracks,
right?
They're just fictional.
It's just fictional, absolutely. And he was really busy. He's always playing with his ears and stuff. It's just Sam. But he he's pretty cool about switching stuff and like. I was with him, I think, like 5 years, something like that, and
doing photography for him, or.
I ended up running lights, photography, crewing, setting their stuff up, programming their stuff, whatever. Nice. I sing a song with them sometimes. I had a light pad and a couple of cameras on me all at the same time. I'm running lights, hitting my cues, and taking pictures, You can have somebody do that. You know, it benefits.
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing. Well, I'm not going to say that. But yeah, it was. It was like Luminaire. I was using Luminaire 3. They got 4 now. 4's got MIDI controls on it where you can actually, like I said, you know, you can have MIDI control. You can do it with your foot.
I see.
Spunk Monkeys do that. They've been doing that for years. Just doing other lights or shows, program them.
Dang it! I could tell you the name of it any other day. There's a very popular program that people use on laptops now that they run it. I don't know the name of it, but it's that you can run it off of a laptop. But I do know that if you're familiar with Champsys, the company that makes like a bunch of lighting boards and stuff like that, Champsys has a computer software that's pretty much one of their consoles put into computer form. But I can't. Light Key, maybe. That might be what it is that I've seen a few people using. And then there's a few of the guys around the area I see that has the app that they use on the iPad with the wireless DMX. That's
probably Luminaire.
Yeah, maybe so.
You know, you buy the app and it's really easy and it does a lot of stuff. I mean, is that Sam Slough?
Yeah.
You know, that's what he uses.
Yeah.
I think there's some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Misbehaving, it's another band.
I don't guess I've heard of them.
That would be yeah. Oh man. Oh shoot. It's a good friend of mine. I can't think of his name right now. I probably have to edit that out. Misspent Youth.
Good friend of mine.
Misspent Youth.
Yeah, that's who I'm trying to think. Not Misbehaving. Misbehaving. Wasn't that Matt Nolan's old band? Before Spunk Monkeys?
So funny you mentioned Matt Nolan's from like Okolona area, and my dad actually knew Matt Nolan when Dad was young and when they were teenagers and stuff like that.
Your dad is still young.
Wouldn't it Misspent Youth? I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah, but Matt Nolan, yeah, he does. They do it. Have you seen their show? You know, they got TVs and lights and all that, and he
Yeah,
you know, he'll hit his, you know, he does it with his feet and stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't Okolona somewhere in the Tupelo area?
Yeah, so that's where all the family's from. Like we're Okolona, Fulton, Amory, kind of whole little.
My dad's family's from that area.
Yeah, so we tell people it's Tupelo area because if you mention one of the little small towns, they're not going to really know what you're talking about. But you say families from Tupelo.
Yeah, we start talking New Albany and Pontotoc and stuff like that. Yeah, that's where all mine are from.
And then the family kind of ventures over the line into Alabama a little too, like Red Bay and stuff like that. But
I wouldn't admit that.
We didn't claim Oklahoma.
he said they didn't claim Okolona either.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Alabama.
He said they didn't claim Okolona. But where was we?
Hadn't you started up your own little PA company too?
Yeah. So yes. So me and I'm constantly buying gear and we call it H&P because technically, so lead singer of my band is Jake Horton, and so he owns some of it as well. So I just try to do a little thing where, you know, if somebody wants to rent us out or need some production work or stuff like that,
how big of a club can you do?
How big of a club can I do?
Yeah.
I would say pretty big. With my system, I can get a pretty good show outdoors as well. Like the main thing we do is we do our town festival every year, which is, you know, it's outside, which is good, but so you have a bunch of vendors, and so at a time, you know, out there you may have 500 people out walking around the stuff and stuff like that, and that's typically, it puts out good enough. Now for a club, I don't really know. I'm a nerd. I wouldn't want to use my stuff. Like I'm constantly wanting to use good stuff. So like, for small clubs, my little point source system works. But if you put me in something big, I'm like, I want line arrays. I need a line array system.
Well, now when you say line array, are we talking like Coliseum line arrays, or are we talking like the ones on a pole?
No, I'm talking about like hanging line arrays. You can get them in so many different sizes.
Right.
They make some that are this big that you can, you know, throw up on a speaker pole and you get that curvature, or you have, you know, some that are like, I caught a show at Red Rocks back in July. We took a vacation to Denver.
I remember seeing you go out there.
I went and saw Red Rocks, and they had these huge
Who'd you see out there?
The group I'm into called A Day to Remember. They kind of got big, and
A Day to Remember.
Yeah, they kind of got big in the late 2000s, early 2010s. They were kind of one of those post-hardcore punk metal bands. So, but I saw them, and that was one of the first places I've ever seen. Because I mean, you go to places and most of the time, or line arrays curve down. That's what they're designed to do. Is they curve down so that they catch the people that are right there in the front, but they also project out to the back. Red Rocks is so steep that they had their line arrays pointed up because there was nobody at the bottom. I mean, it's like your stage is here, and the seating is just like this. So the top is so far up there that they had to point the speakers up instead of down. I was like, this is interesting.
I want to go there.
It was funny because
I did too.
It was funny because like these Denver locals were like, the show, the Red Rocks is really cool. They're like, it won't be that loud. They're like, they have a noise ordinance up there and stuff like that. And we get there a few hours before showtime, and they're doing sound check and stuff like that. And we're sitting there on the steps because gates are not open. Like you got to go up these so many steps to get up there, dude. It's a hike to get up there. Like it is a serious hike.
They don't have shuttles.
No,
then I guess I'm not going to Red Rock.
You have to. You gotta.
I ain't doing no hike.
You gotta climb some steps,
ski lift.
dude. It's and I mean you're high. I mean you're already. I mean Denver's already the mile high city, so you're already kind of
right. You already can't breathe.
You already can't breathe, and so now you're just going up even further. And you're just like, but anyways, we're sitting there on the steps, and I can hear them pink noising the subwoofers. I'm sure. I mean, I'm not familiar. I don't know if you're familiar with like pink noise in a system, but
yeah.
But they pink noise the subs, man, and just the whole mountain is just shaking, and you see the gravel shaking down the mountain, and they're like And so during the show, because some Denver local musician had told us like, normally shows there they keep it at about 90 decibels. You know, that's 90 to 93. I pull out my decibel meter on my phone. And we're sitting there and we're running 105. I'm like, heck yeah, this is like 90, 93. Yeah, that not at this show. And it was crazy. The energy there was really good too. Because I mean, these guys were used to playing these arenas and stuff like that where they had a pit, and this is a mosh pit kind of band, you know. And the front man's like, y'all, we've played all this and we don't have a mosh pit tonight, but y'all are the highest energy crowd we've played to this tour. Like y'all are sitting here in these seats going up a mountain, and y'all have more energy in this crowd than we've seen at any of our other shows. It was a sold out show. It was crazy.
Yeah. For those of you that are watching that have never heard of Red Rock, you gotta look this up.
Yeah.
This is one of the coolest like amphitheater kind of places you all ever see.
It's
cool stuff.
Yeah, I don't think
Built
until you see it, if I don't do it justice.
And I find it amazing. You can go back and find historic photos of like when they just first built the place, and they weren't running much of a sound system out there just because they said the acoustics of the rocks it was designed to be like the old Colosseum in Rome.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what they based it off of. They're like, we wanted the acoustics of this Colosseum in Rome, and so they didn't have a sound system of much of anything at all. You just set up down there on the stage.
Sound just traveled. It's kind of like when Jesus, talked to
did the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
he didn't need a PA.
No,
he didn't use JBLs.
No.
He used DBLs.
Yeah.
Decibels.
Yeah, decibels. Yeah.
Not no Jezebels, just decibels. Okay. You like that?
Oh yeah.
I can make jokes like that.
People always want to talk about how that ain't true because nobody could have heard him.
Yeah.
Well, that depends on. It depends on the.
You can't argue that and then say, believe in all the Rome stuff and stuff like that.
Right.
And then,
right.
Like.
Well, they didn't have PAs back then.
Yeah, I know it was. And it's crazy because you just had to holler. You just had to yell real loud. Couldn't.
Did gladiators really fight sharks? That's kind of left turn in it. What did I say? Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
What does
I've
that even mean?
I've never heard that.
I don't know if they fought sharks.
The reason why I'm asking is like,
and I'm not sure where they get the sharks from and how they would transport them to the Coliseum.
Don't they have like Gladiator 2 out? And don't they fight sharks this time?
I don't know.
Sharks?
Yeah, in Gladiator 2.
In the water or out of the water?
I don't know. That's what I heard. I ain't gone and seen the movie yet, but I'm not going to go see if they fight sharks.
Yeah.
That's just stupid.
That's like Sharknado, man.
Well, Sharknado, that's stupid in a good way.
Yeah.
Gladiator fighting sharks is just crazy.
Yeah. You gotta be funny to watch that shit.
Yeah. I sure as hell hope.
Sorry, that stuff.
I just hope that is something true and it just didn't pop in my freaking head and it come out.
Yeah.
Because somebody needs to check in on that and get back with me because I question my sanity now.
I question your sanity every time we do this show.
Gladiators don't fight sharks. Would you
Yeah.
quit laughing? All these people off camera need.
The studio audience,
You know how hard it
yeah,
is.
we have a crowd of 2 in here.
a crowd of 2.
Yeah.
You know, after the show, I'm just gonna go out there and just let loose and bust, right? Because I've been holding all this in.
Go
I feel like the Tasmanian devil.
go
was
yell at the
strapped in with this-
raccoon or spit on the cat or something.
I already spit on the cat tonight.
Already
Yeah, Scott spit on my cat tonight.
Scott spit on the cat. If the
Ah.
cat comes in
Was
later
it
and
Bill?
you see
Which one? Which cat was it?
It was
you-
the calico
if you-
cover one.
if you see
With
Oh, the
tobacco.
calico. Okay, that's
Yeah.
not
if
Billy.
if you see your cat later and he's got like a loogie like stuck in
And
his
that
hair,
wasn't loogie that I spit.
Whoa.
but
What was it? Skull?
Yeah, it was tobacco.
yeah,
Like in
yeah.
that movie. What was that? Where Clint Eastwood spits on that dog. Yeah, I spit right between the eyes of that dog.
Oh,
Outlaw Josie Wales, something like that. I didn't mean to spit on your cat on purpose.
yeah.
I spit. The cat was camouflaged.
He's in the bird bag.
And right
It
about
was
the
in-
time that I saw the eyes glint in the light, the juice hit.
It probably gave you the look of why would you do this to
Why?
me? Why did you? Why?
I saw the little tear in his eye go, why?
Yeah, that's Callie, the
Yeah.
calico.
Well, Kelly is,
And she'll probably want to get in the bed
Yeah.
with us tonight
well, you got a little bit of my saliva.
because she's going to want to hide. She's going to want to hide from the dog.
Y'all gotta be careful with me.
and those
'cause
humans that spit on her.
y'all gotta be careful with me just because I'm severely ADHD, and we've already touched
So
so
am
many.
I.
We've touched so many topics already, and now I'm just kind of backtraced to kind of remember some of the stuff I brought up already, but haven't
I'm
finished.
excited. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about you getting out of high school. We're still in high school.
Yeah,
man.
hold on. Yeah,
And
hold
it's
up,
not
man.
supposed to be
We're
out of
on-
high school.
I mean, you know,
So I was telling you about Levi always being there, and I know he's mentioned on the episode.
was he in high school or just a postman hanging around?
No, he was in high school with my brother.
Okay,
and
just
what-
making sure.
They would.
'Cause you know those postmen
yeah,
are.
Yeah.
Does he ring twice?
I was fixing to say that.
Oh,
We love you, Levi.
yeah.
Yeah, Levi, we do love you.
I just
but-
remember. I remember he mentioned to y'all that he remembers being over there, and you know, him being over there at his friend's house, which was my brother, and me being a little kid running around the house listening to Little Sister or Twisted Sister and drawing.
We're not gonna
Yeah.
take it.
Yes, and I would draw him and all that, and he was like, and my brother would be like, yeah, he's into all that rock music. My brother listened to all this crap in high school, like all this rap country and all this garbage music, and would pollute. And we shared, me and him, my dad shared an iTunes when you actually still bought music on iTunes, and
Yeah, I never bought any
We would
iTunes.
have all of our good music on there,
Man,
and
I
you'd be
miss
scrolling,
albums.
You'd be scrolling through on shuffle, and all of a sudden you're like, "What the heck is this crap? Like, what is this?" Oh, but anyways, so yeah, so as a little kid, I was running around, always just playing Rockstar, and I know
Did your dad ever play an LP for you? Have you ever listened to an album?
You know what an LP is?
yeah.
Okay.
Have I ever listened to an album in full? Just
Yeah,
like
I
let
mean-
him listen to?
Well, I mean, just anything off vinyl.
No, I collect vinyl now. I've got
Really?
I buy. I have.
You're
a
an
record.
old soul, dude.
Yeah, I like because a lot of
Dan,
these,
what did you do to this kid?
a lot of these new bands release vinyl because
Yeah.
Yeah, they always have.
Yeah, there's because people are into it. You
the
know,
stuff sounds
A lot
Yeah.
of underground
really good.
bands.
yeah. So, but yeah, so my music tastes come a lot from Dad, just because I was growing up listening to Twisted Sister and Ozzy Osbourne a lot, and the Eagles, and a bunch of just your classic 70s and 80s rock music, and so I know Levi also mentioned that we've got Randy Houser from Lake. Randy Houser is
Right?
Mm-hmm.
country star now, and
Right.
he went to high school with my mom and my uncle and hung out with them, and he's actually his brother or stepbrother's married to some of my cousins. So he grew up in Lake, and he was a songwriter for years. Just never did it. Like he wrote a bunch of. I know Levi mentioned he wrote the Honky Tonk Badonkadonk
He
song.
did.
So,
Golly, I wish he wouldn't
Randy
have,
was
but bless his heart
so
for
I
doing
was
it.
as a little 5-year-old
You know
man.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
As a little 5-year-old, I was running around the house with this little first act acoustic that I had, acting like I was playing it. And
You never did get an Esteban guitar, did you?
Uh-uh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think I do know.
Dan, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so your dad knows.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with
It was about this time of the year too.
Yeah.
All the commercials be on
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. quit
Where
look-
is that dude?
I just couldn't. He's probably in jail somewhere for being a.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Yeah, but I couldn't quit looking at his fingernails. It was like,
Esteban.
Huh. But no, I was just this little kid running around singing. It was either I was singing Randy Houser's music because I mean, mom and dad played that a lot. You know, supported him, and he had great songs. He still does have great. All of his whole music library is really just. He's just a good songwriter, and I'm not even a big like country music guy really now, and I never
No,
really have
not
been.
me.
But like, just his music's just got a lot of soul and a lot of meaning to it. So as a kid, I was going around singing. And I do remember a specific time I had a birthday party, and one of our friends who was friends with him called him, and Randy told me happy birthday over the phone and stuff like that. I was just a little 5-year-old kid running around with these, because I loved Johnny Cash too.
Oh, yeah.
I did love Johnny Cash. I went around singing Folsom
There's a
Prison.
train a-comin'.
Yep, and Jackson. I always sang I'm going to Jackson too.
I still liked it when
Which
he
you
did the
probably
Trent
don't-
Reznor song.
You probably don't want to go to Jackson
Yeah,
now, but
that's-
back,
yeah.
When
I
he
wouldn't
did
sing
the
about.
9 Inch Nail song.
Yeah, Hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yep. Nah, that one's still on my playlist. I listen to it all the time.
That's
But,
crazy.
Yeah, so I was running around with sideburns stuck on my face, these little these little stick-on sideburns because I wanted to
You're
be
not
Johnny
old enough to
Cash.
grow 'em, right?
Yeah, it's even now, not old enough to grow 'em.
Aw.
But-
yeah, maybe you'll get sideburns for your birthday next week.
yeah. But then I had a little change. I was
Did you ask Santa?
the what?
Did you ask Santa?
Did
for
I
his
ask Santa for what? Sideburns?
Yeah.
No.
I work for Santa.
Yeah.
I'm the world's tallest elf.
Well-
Well, I work for Santa, and I can get you. I got you a hookup.
I thought you were Santa.
No. I'm an elf. I'm
You're like the total opposite, the redheaded,
I'm the
skinny
tallest
Santa.
elf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
That movie Elf that's on TV all the time. That was actually a story really about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was.
But yeah, I'll get him to bring you some puberty.
Yeah. Oh.
I had to say something
okay.
tonight.
Yeah.
Can we leave that one in?
Yeah.
please?
Yeah, I'll think about it as I'm editing this.
Just a little bit of puberty about this one.
Yeah. No.
Scott, we may be a little too dirty for these guys.
I had a little.
I feel gross.
I had.
You are gross.
Oh, okay.
I had a.
I
So
don't even know what that means.
I don't either.
I'm sorry, Jack. You want to talk about yourself, don't you? Go ahead.
Hey,
sweetheart.
Jack, you want to take this show over?
Yeah, come on, man. You want to host this show, man? That guy hosting is an idiot. I resemble that statement. What?
You are that statement.
Oh,
no, by middle school I was.
middle school.
So as a kid, I'm running around listening.
As
to
a kid at 17
All you do
years
is
old.
run around. Did you ever? Maybe
I've not
that's how.
stopped.
Maybe
No,
that's how your
no.
leg got hurt. You ever think about that?
Yeah. But now, come 5th and 6th grade, and once he moved home and I started learning, he kind of got me set on my guitar path,
I
and
can't even
started
remember
teaching.
5th and 6th grade.
I got set
Oh,
on
I do.
I got set on my path, and at one point, you go through these little phases. I had a Queen phase, and so
What?
I got
Oh,
heavy.
the band.
Yeah, the band.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought you meant
So
like you wanted.
I
to
can't believe you've even heard of Queen.
Oh yeah, so Brian May was probably the first guitar
Wow.
hero that I had. Man, it's just
To me,
and-
that's so cool because somebody your age shouldn't know
Yeah.
this stuff.
yeah,
You
Well,
know?
they should, but they
yeah,
don't.
but all
That's crazy.
It ought to be
It was-
mandatory.
Dan,
Mandatory.
I commend
learning.
you, buddy.
that same year I got into them was the year that the Bohemian Rhapsody movie came out. So I'd watched it, and so I was this little 11-year-old kid. That,
Oh wow, you're 11 years old. Wow,
I was
Time
then,
has
yeah.
gone by since that movie has been out.
yeah,
No
I was,
crap.
yeah, that was 2018 that movie
I
came
saw that
out.
with Josh Arnold.
Yeah,
2018.
yeah,
That was so long ago.
yeah. But
That was
No,
like
so-
yesterday.
That was pre-COVID, man. That's like a whole different world.
Barely.
me playing guitar and piano by then, I would go in there and reenact the
With
whole.
one hand on one hand and one on the other.
Sometimes, yeah. I think we've got a video of me doing that. At
Oh,
one
I hate
point,
you so
but
much.
I would go sit down at the piano.
I thought I liked this kid.
I would
hate him
go.
now.
I would go sit down at the piano and reenact the whole Live Aid performance. I was so
Really?
fascinated.
I used to pretend like I was Elton John, but I can't play crap.
I pretended to be Freddie playing at the piano, and then I'd do the Brian May
That's
stuff
something
on
else I don't know
guitar,
what it
and then
means.
then 7th grade hit, and I wanted to be Kurt Cobain. I was like, I'm about to grow my hair out and be Kurt Cobain, and I was in my little grungy phase and like hated everybody, and cause man, I'll be straight up honest with you. I got picked on and bullied through middle school, just like most kids do, you know. But so that 6th grade year was just one of those years. And so by 7th grade, I was like, I hate everybody. I'm just gonna be Kurt Cobain. I hate the world. And so, and then 7th grade, my 7th grade year was the year that COVID hit. I started 7th grade in 2019, and then 2020 March came around, and so like I said earlier, I was home every day, and so I had access to the church across the street. I went over there, and my mom was working at home, so she's like, you can't be here and turn up your guitar amp and play guitar all day. So I went over there and set up my stuff in the youth room, and would go over there to the youth room during the day and just crank my amp up real loud and sitting there, and at the time, I'd gotten to this YouTuber who was really huge at the time. He used to be really big for going on online video games, and there was a website used to that was open. It's closed now. It's called Omegle. It was a website you could go on, turn your webcam on and stuff like that, and it just puts you on with random people. It's like a live video chat, and you just hit. Like you never know what you was gonna see on there either, and so
Wow, okay.
it was crazy. But he got popular for going on there and playing guitar. Now this dude never showed his face, and so the dude, his name was the dude, and so the dude was I looked up to him because he played by ear too. I'm like, this dude's learning songs by ear, and he had it so cool. He had this little looper pedal that he would use and would set up these songs and stuff like that, and would set up his loop and then shred and stuff like that. And these people on the internet would be like, "Oh my gosh!" And they would request a song, and he'd be like, "All right, let me listen to it real quick," and he'd listen to it, and then he'd play it.
Yeah.
And so I got into him, and so and that really broadened my horizons for some more music, because that's when I got into some more like metal music. By then I discovered a few new artists that I'd not really ever touched on or really heard of, because I had my classic rock roots from him, but he wasn't like a metal guy. And so I discovered some guys like Avenged Sevenfold and All That Remains and System of a Down. And so, and at the same time, I'm also learning drums. The youth room had a little piece of junk electronic kit that I started teaching myself on, and then we had a nice Mapex kit in the sanctuary that I would go into and take my earbuds in there and start playing drums. And so I started teaching myself drum. I've never took a drum lesson. It was all just
really?
Yeah, I just kind of had to figure it out. And then later that year, we found a double pedal in the closet. I'm like, let me try this out. And I'm like, okay. So I started teaching myself double bass as well, and that's all I do now. It's just I'm a metal drummer, I guess. But yeah, so I got big into him, and so then just a few months later, I discovered a band. Well, he had played a song that was supposed to be like the hardest song in the world on guitar. It's called "Through the Fire and the Flames" by Dragon Force, and
Yeah.
it was they're like, this was the hardest song to beat on Guitar Hero 3, and I'm like, okay. And so I venture off into this whole little Dragon Force rabbit hole, and I was big into these guys. And so I'd mentioned earlier I'd gotten my little Epiphone SG. Well, by summertime of 2020, I was starting to learn all these little shreddy songs and stuff like that, and it just wasn't holding up. I'm like, I need a new guitar. So I told my dad, I said, look, I'm ready to buy a guitar. I'll work for you and do work around. I'll work for you. And at the time we were renovating the house and stuff like that. I was like, I'll work for you to pay off this guitar. So I bought a nice guitar. It was a $950 Sterling by Music Man John Petrucci signature, because at the time I'd also gotten into Dream Theater, and so I had all this new influence coming into me as this little 13-year-old. I had my past influence from Brian May and Kurt Cobain and stuff like that, but now all of a sudden I've got guys like John Petrucci and Herman Lee and Sinister Gates and stuff like that pouring in to me, and I'm seeing all this new style and stuff like that, and I hear about something called alternate picking, and I'm like, and so I just start learning, I venture off, and then that set me up on my path to just be a metalhead, and I got deeper into, I discovered all these new genres of music, and it's just like I went from just knowing classic rock music to all of a sudden I just had so much new stuff I wanted to try out. I got into Bullet for my Valentine, and those guys are probably my biggest influence to this day, both guitar wise and vocally. Their vocalist Matt Tuck has really influenced a lot of just my singing and screaming vocals and stuff like that. And that's a lot of stuff that people don't get to see for me, because I play in a party band. Like us, Common Courtesy, we're a party style music band. We show up and we play all your favorite pop, rock, and country hits, and we're gonna let you have fun and get out there and dance. But at home, I'm the metal kid. I'm sitting here I'm writing riffs and doing drum parts, and I take vocal lessons from an extremely talented guy that shout out to Hans.
Hey, Hans.
Yeah,
Hey, Hans.
Hans Hesberg is a genius, man, and I'm always
He's
throwing
there
his
to
name
pump
out.
you up, right? Went on Saturday Night Live, Hans, and
Was he from Seattle?
Hans is just about an
Oh,
hour.
you're not talking about Hans Liquor?
No,
nobody got that. Hans Liquor. What?
I got you. I got you. That's open.
Oh,
Yeah,
you-
so Hans is from a little bit outside of Seattle, and I started taking vocal
He's
lessons.
up there with Fluff.
Yeah, so Fluff as well. I met Fluff, and
Fluff is a real person, or are we joking?
no, Fluff is a real person. His
Wait a
name
minute,
is.
you actually met Fluff?
I have met Fluff, and I met Fluff through the internet, but then later that year he was actually the next year.
I mean, in person.
Yeah, I've met Fluff in person. That's what. So later that year he went on tour, and I went and saw him in Nashville and met him in person. But
Cool.
I'd known him through the internet already for
He
all
looks
that.
like a cool guy.
He's so down to earth, dude.
Can you
And
introduce me to him?
I'll throw your name over at him. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that was just this is what kind of just got me started off, and I'd really gotten just involved on the whole because during COVID, all the in-person music scenes had just kind of shut down, and so everything just started booming online. You had all these musicians that turned to playing online. So there's a platform called Twitch that everybody turned to, that you do live streams on, that was always mainly popular with like gamers and stuff, that you did your gaming live streaming on there, all these content creators. But all of a sudden, all these musicians turned to it, and I really got into it. So, like I told you, I got into Dragon Force. Their guitarist, Herman Lee, he became probably my guitar hero, and I got introduced to him through Twitch and was watching all of his streams and trying to learn all the Dragon Force music and all that. And at the time, I thought I was killing it. I actually was pretty terrible, but I was like, because I went from being like, this classic rock guitarist to I'm 13 and I'm trying to teach myself how to play music that these guys have been playing for 30 years, like skill that, but I eventually got the hang of it. And so, I got into this whole little online world, and so just through that, I've been blessed just to meet so many of these big guys and you meet these guys that you think are and they're just some of the most down to earth people, like these big rock legends and stuff like that, and so then come 2020. I don't remember when it was actually. I think it was so that was all through 2020 that I started getting into all that new stuff, and I'd bought the new guitar and I'd done all that, and so then 2021 came around, and so when I bought my guitar that the first one I actually spent my money on, my mom was like, because I'd just gotten that little SG like a year and a half before. She's like, and we had told her then, like, oh yeah, this will last me the next few years. Now, you know how us guitarists are. We have to. And so
What are you saying?
we have a problem.
I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So,
And I have gas.
Yeah.
We bought a lot.
So we
you got cash or gas?
yeah.
You're learning this at a mighty early age,
Yeah.
Jack.
Yep. So so she wasn't very happy that I was spending $1,000 on a new guitar, and so even then I was like, yeah, this one will last me a long time. But sure enough, by 9 months later, I progressed so much just in my playing and that time being home from school. And because when you get to sit there and play guitar for 6 to 8 hours a day because you're not having to go to school, like I really just all of a sudden just shot up in my ability to play and really just learned all this new technique and all these new songs. So by spring of 2021, I'm playing all this shreddy, crazy fast stuff. I'd learned how to just move my fingers really fast and could do all the fast picking and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I need an even better guitar now. So I went and convinced.
I need something with lower action.
I convinced him.
Convince him. When you say him, you mean your
I
dad.
convinced my dad.
It's
So
right
now
off
it was,
camera
now
here.
it was, now it was dad that I had to convince. I was
And
like,
when you
look,
say you needed a new guitar or a better guitar, what's better about the new guitar?
well, this I don't
Lower
even.
action? What is it?
At the time, I needed a double lock and tremolo. I was like,
you
now
go.
I need
Okay.
now I need a
Okay,
float.
if you need it, you
now I
need
need-
Floyd Rose.
Now I needed and so the thing that I left out, I told you that Dad had that 10th anniversary gym. Well, in 2020, we sold it, which I don't know why I let him talk it into selling it, but I talked him into selling it so that we could buy. Yeah,
Hey, before we go any farther, how many guitars do you have right now?
right now.
Yeah, how many do you own right now?
No, so out of my main that I play live, I mean, I just kind of alternate between three. Now I've got several at the house. I've got that Schecter that I told you sitting there taking apart. I've got these little just kind of parts guitars too. So counting everything from the first little piece of junk, first act acoustic that I have, and even the first act electric, because I still have them now. The first act electric is taken apart, but I'm still going to count it. So that one, that one, that one, that one. That one.
What about this one?
two acoustic.
Just say 10.
Yeah,
He pictures it in his
I
head.
think it's between 8 and 10 that I have.
Okay,
But I mean,
okay.
I have my main.
At 17, you're doing quite well.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know how
Yeah.
many I had at 17?
Yeah, yeah. He had to.
Two.
He had to walk
And
uphill
one
both
didn't
ways
work.
to get
Yeah.
it.
So, and that's my parents. I'm blessed to have them that they've always been willing to help me out. So like when I bought my
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
When I bought
bless
my-
your parents. My
So,
parents wouldn't let me sit around the house 8 hours a day and play guitar. I'd be kicked out of the house.
so when I bought
I'd be like out mowing the yard or
when I
something.
bought the
He had to work.
when I bought the upgrade. So I told you all the
Oh
first.
yeah, you ain't telling us about
Yeah.
all these jobs you had to do to support this. Like
so yeah,
cleaning cars.
I
and
was
stuff.
told. So at the time, I was working for Dad. So when I bought the Majesty that I did in 2020, I was working for him. So, but come around spring of 2021, when I wanted to upgrade again, I had my eyeball on this Ibanez Prestige, which was about $1,600, and I'm like, okay, can
I had a Salvador Dali picture of your eyeball on a guitar.
yeah. So
yeah, it's
and
pretty cool.
I downloaded Reverb the year before, and so you can get caught up scrolling through Reverb
Oh,
for
yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's like, and so
Don't do that.
You want to know
Uh,
what your it's worth? I mean, your stuff is worth. Just look on Reverb.
yeah, look on Reverb, yeah,
But you better look and see what they sold for.
yeah. So I asked him, could I get it and pay it off over? Can I buy it now and keep working and pay it off in payments to y'all? And so that's how I've done a lot of my stuff until I started buying stuff off of Sweetwater. Now I just buy it and pay it to them. But
I love Sweetwater.
But so yeah, I bought that guitar and then got even learned more. Started looking into sweep picking and all this and all that, and
yeah.
doing all these crazy harmonics and stuff with the floating bridge and stuff like that. So all these Eddie Van Halen and Dimebag Darrell style bombs and wails and stuff like this, but mainly Herman Lee was just my guitar hero at the time. And if y'all don't know much about him, just look into him because
He's the Oriental looking guy, right?
yeah, he's from Hong Kong and he was raised, and that's funny too because so he's from Hong Kong, raised in London, so he's got a mixture of a Chinese and a British accent, and so
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
yeah. So I remember probably 2 or 3 years back, he did he put on a whole big charity thing for Jason Becker,
Mm-hmm.
and Jason Becker, that guy don't get talked about enough. That guy
No.
was. And I know y'all were alive to see him, but I just
Well, you know what? He and Marty Friedman came to Town Creek Saloon in Jackson in Cacophony back in the 80s. And
Yeah.
I didn't go see him.
Yeah.
I can't. And I mean, they were your age.
Oh yeah,
at
no.
that time.
Yeah.
I think
You know.
Jason Becker was 18 when
Yeah.
he got diagnosed with ALS.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
And so-
it was just like,
And
I didn't go because I didn't know who they were.
From everything that I've heard, he was about to be the greatest guitarist ever.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
he was already past. He was already out playing
David Lee
Eddie
Roth
Van Halen.
was talking to him.
Yeah, he was already out playing Van Halen and all these guys, and then he got ALS and just
Unbelievable.
he just went downhill like that. But what's really interesting if y'all have kept up is like now he still has been making music. He can't
he
move.
still composes.
He composes music. He's got a device that tracks his eyes, and he makes music on his computer just completely by his eyes and blinking. Just
There's some really touching videos of
it's-
him and Eddie Van Halen. Eddie
Yeah.
Van Halen visited him
oh
at his home.
yeah.
And Eddie was playing for him while he's sitting there in the wheelchair and stuff.
But-
and it's just, man, it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking. You
Anyways,
had to watch that.
a few years ago, Herman did a big charity thing for them, and they auctioned off a bunch of Jason's old guitars and just raised a couple $1 million for him and stuff like that. But no, and so, and all my school buddies just I caught such a hard time from them because they're all, I mean, we're 15 years old, and they're 14 really, and they're listening to country music and all this
Ugh.
rap and garbage trash, and I'm over here listening to Dragon Force, and they just I could not catch a break from any of them dudes because I was listening to metal music. Like, nobody even likes that music you're listening to, Jack. Nobody like, that's garbage, and I'm like, it's what I like,
Yeah,
and so
yeah. I absolutely cannot stand country music.
I appreciate some of it. Not
I mean, I can't stand it. I'm sorry. I can't do
I
it.
appreciate what we play in common courtesy. But so then, come 2022, I'm in ninth grade still. And that year is just the year that everything just kind of changed. And so in February of 2022, I met Fluff through Twitch actually and reached out to him. And there's a platform called Discord that people use to kind of have like these little communities with their fan base, and you have all these different little just text channels within a Discord server that you can bring up conversation topics, and they've got voice chats on there and stuff like that. It's just a cool little platform just to have your fan base on, And so he had one that wasn't very alive. It wasn't very booming. I'm like, hey, can I help out and run your Discord and do all this? And he's like, yeah. And so I meet up with him, and so when within the first week of meeting him, he's like, hey, send me your email. I'm gonna get my guy at ML Sound Labs to send you all these amp sims because he was partnered with ML Sound Labs,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, okay.
I think I've used some of theirs.
And then the next week,
Isn't that dude
he-
out of Germany?
yes,
Yeah.
Miko, yeah,
Yeah.
not
right.
Germany, it's Sweden.
Is it?
He's from Sweden, I believe. Anyways, so within the next week, Fluff's just, so at the time it was me and the guy who had been running the Discord, and I don't even remember the last time I've talked to him. I don't guess. His name's Zach. I mean, me and Fluff both know that he's still labeled as like one of our admins in the server, but he's not just like very active, and so.
Does Fluff ever just call you
But,
on the
like,
phone?
No, I mean, I message him all the time, and I'll call him if I have a question. So Fluff just hits us up and is like, yo, what do y'all need? And I'm like, I don't know what you're asking. And so like the next week I opened up the mail and he had sent me a pair of Kali LP6 studio monitors
Really?
and a pair of Bayer Dynamic DT770 Pros. He's like, here you go.
Mhm. I
And
love
then one-
those. I
and
got
then
them
one
on
night-
right now.
Yeah, then one night I was in a video chat with him, and I just had like a little Sennheiser vocal mic using it as my vocal mic. He's like, your mic sounds like trash. He said, I'm sending you a microphone. So the next week I open it up and I've got a Rode, it's very similar to this. It's bigger though. It's like the Rode Procaster or something like that mic. And
Yeah, that's a podcaster you're talking to.
yeah, it was, it's like this, just bigger and a little
That
bit
one
of,
actually sounds really
yeah,
good, though.
it's a little bit of a different diaphragm, but anyways, I'm like, okay. And so it was just constantly like, or if something new came out with ML Sound Labs, and finally he was just like, I just got hooked up with the actual artist relations guy at ML Sound Labs, and me and him are really cool friends now. His name is Kai. And so, we'll do something like, we'll do giveaways within the Discord, and I'll do a giveaway and then just hit up kind of like, hey, here's these contestants' emails. Will you send them an app sim or stuff like that? And so, or anytime they drop anything new, I'll hit him up. I'm like, hey, can I try this out? And so, I mean, one day he's like, here, just take our whole library. He sent me the entire ML Sound Lab library. I'm like, okay, cool. From the first thing they'd ever released to their newest stuff. And so, so I met Fluff that year, and then, this was kind of what got me started over here in our Jackson scene. Is later that year, we've always had our town festival in Lake Fest, Lake Day, whatever you want to call it. And growing up, I would always sing at it, and I just go up there and take a little CD and sing up there as a little kid. I was 7 or 8 years old up there singing. One year, Dad played acoustic and I sang, and so this year, in 2022, I was 15 years old. I was supposed to play it. I'd gone and I'd put in this work, and I'd recorded all these backing tracks myself to these songs I was going to play. I was going to get up there and play guitar along and sing to these tracks that I'd recorded myself and have a video of me playing. So I'd got in there and I'd recorded the drum parts and I'd recorded the bass and all this. And it was very sloppy. It was not good work. Y'all guys know me as playing on stage, but I do studio work as well. And what got me kind of into that was when I was 12 or 13, I got an iPad and got a little interface and started using GarageBand on my iPad and would record stuff with just this little Focusrite plugged into my iPad and so eventually that evolved into me. I started using Reaper on my little Windows laptop.
Reaper was cool.
Reaper is a good starting point for anybody.
I used Reaper when it first came out, and it was when I got started, I was using Sony Vegas.
And
Reaper was very similar in the beginning, very similar to Sony Vegas, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And of course, as time goes on, things start changing, and I finally lost interest. But
you can keep Reaper forever, though. Like,
you're
supposed to buy.
I've got it
you're
now.
Supposed to buy the license, but
I did. I bought it.
But they never know if you do or not. Like, they don't take it away from you,
right?
Like,
no.
And so,
you just got to wait the 10 seconds or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'd gone and used Reaper to program or to record all these tracks, and I had this god-awful little sounding MIDI drums. I had an electronic drum set by this time in my room that I'd bought from a friend of mine that I would record MIDI drums with. And
were you actually recording MIDI, or were you recording the audio out of the
Well, at first, before I ever even knew what MIDI was, I was recording the audio out of the electronic drum set, and then I learned, wait, I can plug my USB cable into the I can record my USB into the computer and use this. And I looked up free drum software, and it happened to be Steven Slate drums. I'm like, okay, and they're good. I told him I'll give it a minute for Scott to get back in here because Scott's gonna want to hear this story.
He went to pee, did he?
Yeah. Well, he'll just have to catch it later. But
I didn't even notice.
So that day that I was playing that festival, I was about to go on and play and it became a monsoon, dude. So like everything just got soaking wet and ended up having to get canceled. Like I didn't get to play my show, and so I was bummed out. Didn't get to play, and knew that Levi was playing that night because by this point, me and Levi, I knew Levi as a kid. I saw him around the house, but then there was just kind of this gap where, he was 10 years older than me. Why would I have any reason to know him? But so, like, once I started playing,
Levi's 10 years older than you.
Yeah, Levi's 10 years older than me. Yeah,
this is nuts.
No, he's 10. He's 10. Yeah, he's 10 years older than me.
Yeah,
so,
this is funny because I'm like 30 years older than Levi.
Yeah, so Levi,
maybe not really, but it's similar.
Once I start playing, and get a few years under my belt playing guitar, I connect with him again, and I think it was Easter of 2021. He had came to our Easter service at church and saw me up there playing guitar, and we got in touch and started jamming out and hanging out after then. So come this day in 2022 when I'm playing this festival, and that got canceled, I knew he was playing that night, so I called him. I'm like, hey, where are you playing? Is it somewhere that I can get into? Because we're just looking to go somewhere. Like, we're just bummed out, need something to do.
Hey, Dan, why don't you go sit in that chair?
He was like,
seriously, go sit in that chair where Scott was at.
Oh, don't make him do it.
No, I'm going to make him do it.
I told him he wasn't going to be on TV.
We're going to introduce his dad, your dad.
But anyways,
we don't need Scott. You got your headphones on?
Yeah. I told him.
Ladies and gentlemen, wait, hang on. All right. Introduce your dad to us.
This is Dad. This is sound.
Oh, that's
this
great.
is sound man Dan Plunkett.
Soundman Dan.
And so
Appreciate you having us.
yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Man, I'm glad you're here, dude.
Yeah, originally I was just gonna come over here by myself, but he got off work earlier today. I'm like, hey, you want to tag along and go to Florence with me? Go check out this podcast deal. And so, and so he's like, yeah,
Jack's amazing like that.
yeah,
To include Dad.
yeah,
How many teenagers do you know that does that?
yeah. Oh, Scott's back. He's gonna. He's
Oh, you're good. Come on.
Scott. I was just talking about. You know, you heard me talking about that festival, but that I put all my little crappy backing tracks together for. It got rained out. I didn't get to play my festival.
Bummed
so this is
out.
where, so I got bummed out that I didn't get to play. So now this is where I'm at. I called Levi and to ask where he's playing that night. And he said I'm playing with Cooter Palooza at McBee's. And he said it's just kind of a little goof band that we do. I'm like, all right, can I get in there? He said, yeah, you can get
what's
it.
the name Cooter? What do you?
Yeah, he said you can get into McBee's.
First time you got to play in the Jackson scene.
Yeah, that was with Cooter Palooza. Yeah, so I go, and there's a bunch of people in there that I don't know, and so that was the first night I ever met Clayton Pell. It was the first night I ever met Billy Allen. It was the first night I ever met Matt Brooks and Matthew Pell, and so
the cream of the crop.
yeah, they come up there and they're like, yeah, you want to play a song? I'm like, I want to play with Levi. Matt's like, you play drums? I said, yeah, I play drums. He said, get up there and play drums for a minute. I said, all right, what are we playing? And they're like, let's do Killing in the Name of Rage Against the Machine. I'm like, okay, I've never played this on drums, but sure, I know it's got the little cowbell part in the beginning, and then I'll just wing the rest, you know?
If it's got cowbell, that's all
So-
you need.
Well, y'all stay tuned for part 2. Happy holidays. I let
Merry
my hat.
Christmas, Happy Holidays. Of course, this is not going to be out until after Christmas, but
You can still have the spirit.